What's going on, y'all? I'm Brandon Atlanta Man Bang, coming to you live right here at Coach's Corner, the center of the universe, Thunderbolt, Georgia. Another episode of Rubbing and Grubbing. Rubbing is racing, grubbing is tasting. Hope everybody's having a good Wednesday night out there, man. Got a lot of good NASCAR news to go over, especially after that 500. If it's the first time ever tuning in the show, you know how we like to start it out, man. We're going to start it out with a game we like to call Word of the Day. So every time I say this word during tonight's broadcast, Lauren's going to throw it up here somewhere. You're going to take a sip of your favorite adult beverage. I always like to say it's age appropriate as well. If you're under the age of 18, or 21, excuse me, what am I talking about? Like I'm out of country. If you're under the age of 21, man, get a Red Bull, get some sweet tea, some Kool-Aid, get jacked up, stay up late. I know some of y'all just went back to school. I think tomorrow's going back. Some of y'all are out today. Hey, stay up a little late, man. So last week's word of the day was 500. As it being the Daytona 500, I'm sure I said that quite a few times. If you played along, probably had a pretty good buzz going. So this week's word of the day is going to be, I have no idea, but whenever I say it, take a sip, y'all. Getting right into that NASCAR news. Not much bigger news than that winner of the 500, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. over there in that 47, brings home the checkers. I tell you what, that was a wild one. We're going to be recapping a little bit later in the show, but a monumental win for the 47 team and owner Brad Doherty as well. So big shout out to him. Put a lot of years in NASCAR. Built it up, got him a race win there with Ricky Stenhouse and a 500 under that belt, man. Good job. So Kyle Busch, back to the old antics again, man. Really didn't take him that long for the old douche Busch, if you like that, to reemerge, man. I tell you, he had some choice words, you know, about the Daytona 500 after looking like he was going to come home victorious there, to be honest, man. Led it all the way to regulation. Wasn't so in those green-white checkered overtime there, but, you know, he had some choice words. Just kind of saying, you know, he wished it was 1998 rules, referring to Dale Sr. when he won his, you know, under caution there. You know, unfortunately, it's not. That's the way the sport evolves, and it is what it is. We all know the rules. So just got caught up in it, got caught up in classic Daytona. That's what happens. I think the bigger thing was when he goes, you know, it's pretty much just because you win this doesn't mean you're a top-tier driver. You have to kind of luck into it. And he, quote-unquote, said, I don't know who lucked into it this time. And they let him know it was Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and he goes, oh, there you go, you know, pretty much. So at the end of the day, is what it is. He's always been one to speak his mind. There again, not my cup of tea. I thought maybe maturing a little bit in his older age and many years of doing this, he'd kind of get it under wraps and be able to do some things there a little different when it comes to the media and reporters. Obviously not, and he's never been the one to do that. He's never been the one to bite his tongue. So, hey, you know, if you're a fan of Kyle Busch, good for you. I mean, I think you got some successful things to look forward to this year coming up. I think him switching over to that RCR camp and getting in a Chevrolet is going to help. We're going to see how the season plays out and what he can get done and see if he can get some wins. So a lot of fans, man, being upset with the Fox coverage of the 500. And this is something that just blew my mind. You know, I've kind of been on this starting out the season. A lot of fans unhappy with NASCAR in general and just the things that go around and happen, right? Seems like no matter what it is, whether it comes down to scheduling or whether it comes down to the next gen or whether it comes to short tracks or whether it comes to now the Daytona 500, everybody's very opinionated and has their own opinions, man. At the end of the day, look, it's NASCAR sandbox. I say it all the time. If you don't like the rules and you don't want to play in it, pack your shit up and go home, man. I mean, that's the simplest rule to it there. Got to get the square bucket in here. Got it coming. Boom, there we go, $1 in there. But at the end of the day, that's just kind of how it goes. So a lot of fans upset with the coverage of it by Fox, just the amount of commercial breaks. There again, obviously, at the beginning of the race, it was pretty heavy. And then the big one happened, and Fox was on commercial and didn't cut back to it to watch it unfold as maybe they have in years past. And a lot of fans were upset with that. But at the end of the day, TV networking is what makes that sport go round, and sponsorship pays into the money to make that world happen. So, you know, I think it was great. I mean, when you looked at viewership for the race, it was a little bit down from last year's view. But I think as we get into the newer age of streaming, and everybody streams and you don't carry that broadcast or cable TV any longer, you stream. I think it's going to get a little bit higher when we start counting those numbers in for it as well, but still way better than Formula One and way better than any other motorsport racing out there as far as America goes. So NASCAR's headed back in the right direction, doing good things. I think we got to cut them a break as the coverage and understand that's just what it is. You know, there again, if you don't want commercials, go to it live in person, pay your money and watch it. But at the end of the day, commercials are always going to be a part of the sport, so we might as well go ahead and get used to it and quit complaining about it. So do want to give a big shout out to social media, man. If you haven't yet, please go out, like, share, follow, all that social media we got out there. You can find us on the gram. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. Definitely make sure you go check out that YouTube channel and subscribe. We're getting there. We're still not quite to the 250 before we give away this beautiful helmet to a random subscriber. But if you are new, following the show, go on that YouTube channel. If you haven't yet, subscribe. Drop hashtag Larson in the comment box. That way we know you're a new ad into that show. And like I said, as soon as we hit 250, this one goes away, man. It's one of 100 out there. Comes with a certificate of authenticity signed by the man himself, 2021 champion, Kyle Larson, man. So like I said, goes to somebody random. Could be you. Make sure you go check it out. YouTube, Rubbing and Grubbing. Subscribe, like, share, follow it, man. So getting back into that NASCAR news, you know, kind of caught me off guard, especially heading into Daytona, man. We got a little trouble brewing over at Legacy Motor Club already, and it's kind of interesting to read about. So I read an article about it. Richard Petty had his candid comments about it and saying his opinion really has been taken out of the works there over at Richard Petty Motorsports or Legacy Motor Club now. And at his age, I think the King's 83, 84, 85, mid-80s there. You know, they just don't see eye to eye on some of the business aspects. You know, he was quoted kind of talking about Jimmy Johnson more than the other ownership, which is, I think, a owner or founder of Allegiant Airline or one of them. I mean, the man's got some money. Murray Gallagher, Gallagher, I think that's his name, Gallagher. Anyways, you know, it's more on the business aspect side of the sports. You know, he said when Jimmy came in, he kind of brought his own people in and this and that. And I think in today's sport, that's what you need. You've got to put the right people in the right place to go from being a lower B to maybe a top C tier team down into, you know, being one of the contenders week in and week out. So I don't think the words were exactly meant for Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy said he was very disappointed in the comments, and he would definitely talk to him about it. They'll definitely have their conversations. But the business aspect is more along the lines with the other partnership that was buying Richard Petty Motorsports before Jimmy got involved. So I really hope they get it figured out. I mean, you never like to see people, especially in business deals, go back and forth. And a name like Petty, you know, it's been around so long. It's one of the longest running NASCAR teams out there and ownerships out there. So you definitely want to take in what he has to say and listen to him. It's just you know, a patriarch and a monarch of the sport. So you definitely want to listen to what he has to say. But there again, business nowadays is done different than what business was 20, 30, 15, 10, 5 years ago, honestly. So hopefully they get it lined out for their two drivers. I know Eric Jones is very talented. We know Noah, the problem child, Gregson, as I like to call him, is over there as a rookie this year. Hopefully it doesn't trickle down and affect the workmanship in the shops and between those teams. Hopefully they stay tight-knit, grow together, and, you know, like I said, propel that Legacy Motor Club into being that next tier NASCAR team. So hopefully they get it squared up. I think they will. I think they'll sit down and have those conversations and get it all worked out. Probably won't hear much more about this, but it was a surprise going into the 500 for me for sure. So want to wish Michael McDowell and his wife and family a big congratulations here from the Rubbing and Grubbing and Coach's Corner family. Had another baby girl, fifth child in that family, man. I tell you what, you are a brave man there. 5 kids is a lot. I got a couple out there. 5 is a lot to handle, man. So big kudos to you, brother. Hope everything's happy with you. Hope everybody's safe. And, you know, I'm sure you'll see her at the racetrack sooner rather than later for sure. So getting into the next segment of the show, Checkered Flag for Charity. I do want to take a minute and talk about it. As you guys know, we're doing this for Miss Jamie Searhouse Monroe. Good friend of ours, bartender down on Tybee, has been down there for a lot of years. Family actually comes up to Coaches quite often. Lost her husband earlier a few weeks back, and also lost her mother. So for the first segment, you know, half of the year, part of the year, we're going to be doing raising money for her. So, you know, we do Checkered Flag for Charity. Every time a car number wins, we donate that into the bucket from the Rubbing and Grubbing crew. So we all know that Martin Truex Jr. came home victorious in the Clash. Look, man, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the 47 got another $47 to throw into that bucket for her family, man. That brings that total to right to $67. Can't let that other swear dollar go because I got another one to drop. But $67, man, between 2 races. Not starting out bad. As I always like to say, nickels, pennies, dimes, 10, 20s, 150s. Doesn't matter what you got to donate. If you want to donate, anytime you're at Coaches, whether it be here for, you know, to come by and grab something to eat, have some cold beers with the fellas, or whether you're coming out to a Soundgarden event, make sure you bring a little bit of extra dough, man. Like I said, let your waitress know, your waiter, bartender. If you see John or Adele walking through, man, make sure you stop one of them. Say, hey, I want to donate Checkered Flag for charity. They're going to make sure it goes to the right place. We do got some concerts coming up, which I'm going to talk about a little bit further in the show. But we will be doing some Cooler Full of Joys there, some giveaways there as well. So if you're coming out for the first few concerts of the year, getting that season in the Soundgarden kicked off right, make sure you come out, bring some extra bucks, man. You can go home with a cooler full of booze. I mean, you know, boating season's coming up, beach season. We got a lot of giveaways, man. So make sure you're staying up to date, not only on the Soundgarden events, but with us on Rubbing and Grubbing as well for things that we got going on. Dan Folds, owner of Island Shuttle Boat Tours, gave away Sunset Cruise last week, you know, just to try to help us hit our goal of subscribers. And Dan's an awesome guy. So if you haven't yet, looking to get out on the water, make sure you call Island Shuttle Boat Tours out there. Dan and Jeannie, I tell you what, they do a great job. Dan's whole team, man. So going to show you a good time for sure. Dan, thank you for that. Love you, brother. All right, man. So before we get into the Who's Hot and Who's Not, sponsored by Arbor Man Tree Service, we're going to drop that on you real quick. Mr. Parker Eccles, owner-operator over there at Arbor Man. You're going to see that number scrolling on the screen all night long. Any kind of tree service you need done, doesn't matter if it's full tree removal, stump grinding, some limbs cut back off the house. Hey, even if you just need an estimate, man, make sure you give Parker Eccles a call over there at Arbor Man. He'd be more than happy. Like I said, locally owned, locally operated, insured, does an amazing job. My family, Lawrence's family, we've all had work done by him. An amazing guy, amazing work that he gets going out there and gets done. Lawrence just had him come do mother-in-laws and took a crane and some other things to get that one out of there. So said he did a bang-up job. Parker, big shout-out to you, brother. Love you for everything you do for the community and for us up here on Rubbing and Grubbing. And can't wait to see you there at Atlanta in March, man. We're gonna have a few cold beers and catch up for sure, brother. So getting into that Who's Hot and Who's Not. So we'll start it out with the Who's Hot. Driver of the 22 and Joey Logano still stays #1 for me. Look, came home second. Started second, finished second, right? Pretty sure that's how it went for the 500. Started in the top 4 or whatever it was. Finished second. I thought it was a great run, man, honestly. Never seems to amaze how good Joey Logano is at you know, super speedways or old school plate racing, I guess, if you will. You know, he just seems to have a knack for being there at the finish. Of course, everybody that's ever been good at it has their down years where they get caught up in a wreck or something happened that they can't control. But at the end of the day, man, driver of the Penske Ford 22 came home second place, man. That's a good way to start the season. So I think you got to look out for him. I think especially last year's champion, I know, another cuss word, Lawrence owes $1 for throwing up the blue oval. But at the end of the day, I think being a champion from last year, moving into this season, that's what you want to do. You want to come out, get the really good finishes early in the season, hopefully go out and get some wins, and that way you can focus on that later part of the season and just building your cars to be faster and better and know that you're pretty much locked into those playoffs. So like I said, Joey Logano is going to stay #1 on that list for me for sure. You know, #2, Hendrick Motorsports as a whole. Look, I know they didn't quite get all the finishes there to come home powerhouse at Daytona, but man, if they didn't qualify well and really show you what they could do. I mean, you know, I think that was 8 out of the last 9 front row starts for Hendrick. I think that was 15 or 16 total career poles as an organization, most all time in NASCAR. Hendrick Chevrolets have a knack for starting first at Daytona. We all know they've got a few there again under their belt, wins with Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, etc. But at the end of the day, didn't come home necessarily the finishes. Chase, my boy, got caught up in that bigger one there halfway, you know, second into stage 1, part of stage 2, wherever it may be. You know, got caught up. You know, hey, William Byron, Kyle Larson, and Alex Bowman were all there getting down to the nitty gritty. We know, you know, William Byron got caught up in the one prior, and then, you know, Alex Bowman, you know, comes home, has a decent finish. You know, Larson there again, running up front. Didn't quite get the finish he probably deserved, but showing strength, man. Hendrick Motorsports always seems to show strength. I'm telling you right now, don't be surprised to see these guys going into 9 races left out of the first 10. I say Hendrick comes home with at least 3 of those victories. At least 3 out of these next 9 races, Hendrick is going to come home victorious, and I think they're going to spread out that wealth. I do think you'll see Kyle Larson and you'll see Chase Elliott get a few more wins than the other 2 guys there, but I say at the end of the day, that whole stable comes home with a win again this season. So Ricky Stenhouse Jr. makes the hot list, man. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Daytona 500 winner. Not only for, you know, putting himself in that position, and I know a lot of people will say he lucked into it. Look, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has been a really good super speedway, if you will, plate racer for quite some time. He's had speed. He is aggressive. And we're going to talk about aggression a little bit more later on and about super speedways. But at the end of the day, man, he gets the job done. He put that Continental Chevy 47 car up front, right place, right time when the caution fell, man. Took the white flag, caution fell. He's 500 winner. But not only is he hot for that, he also hit the Waffle House with it. So you got to enjoy that. You got to love a man that goes to the Waffle House like Noah Gragson after them wins. That's a cool deal there. So again, congratulations out there to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Brad Daugherty, man. I tell you what, that is the first black owner, in NASCAR to win a race. So big kudos, or win a 500 there for him. That's big kudos, man. That's leaps and bounds. Did it before MJ, so I know those two got history on the hardwoods out there on the basketball court. So I'm sure they'll be going back and forth as owners, going, yeah, I got mine first, So really neat deal, man. I think that's an awesome deal. There again, I think that he earned it. So anybody out there that's saying Ricky Stenhouse lucked into that one, you got to kind of ease up on that, man. He put himself in position, came home with the checkers for sure, man. So that's going to do it with the who's hot. We're going on to the who's not, man, and I tell you what, number one of it, NASCAR fans and the continuous back and forth bitching about the sport, man. So there's my other dollar going in. Look, I've had hard right turns about it. I've talked about it in NASCAR news. I'm just almost over it. I've been watching this sport since 1992 when I was 4. Maybe I didn't really understand what it was all about then. I've grew up since then watching it. Let's say the last 20 years of my life, right? I was an adult, 18 years old. I don't miss a race, man. I watch it every Sunday. I watch every lap. I keep up with the news on it. I've never heard more complaining about where we're at as a sport now when we're doing a lot of good things and growing forward than I have since probably the induction of, stage racing and this and that. And I'm not watching NASCAR anymore. And you're going to see this throughout generations, right? You got different generations of fans. You're going to see it. But I'm just a fan of racing. I don't care if they start flying one day and we're hovering over the track. I'm still going to watch it. I'm still going to be a NASCAR fan. So I think some fans need to take a back seat, enjoy the sport for what it is. And like I always like to say, if you don't like it, you can change the damn channel, man. You don't have to tune in to watch it. I think if you're going to watch it and then complain about it so hard the next day, what's the point in even watching and enjoying it? I mean, there's no enjoyment in that. Nobody wants to hear you complain on social media all day long about everything that's wrong with NASCAR. Let's talk about the things that are right with NASCAR, right? And I know I get on my spells. I talk my ish too. I'll say I think they made a wrong choice or give my opinion. But that's the end of it, man. Not about TV coverage, not about now stage racing, not about, they should have a line back on the backstretch again they race to if caution falls on the white flag. That's for NASCAR and team ownership to make do, man. Not us as fans. We can give them our 2 cents. I mean, I guess that's what the freedom of social media is. But at the end of the day, dude, come on, man. We got to quit the complaining and bitching, man. So Legacy Motor Club, again, storms brewing, man. I talked about it earlier. I understand it, but at the same time, it is not a good look for the sport. So it is definitely going to be on the not list. Not a good look for that team, not a good look for the sport when you have 2 out of the 3 7-time champions butting heads that comes to light before the 500 or during the week of the 500. Like, you would think this would be a behind-the-scenes deal, not the media thing. I know Petty's never been one to really bite his tongue as a businessman. And there again, he's been doing it a very long time and been very successful at it. I think there again, the new young blood that's coming in between the ownership, ownership partners, you got to kind of soak that in at his age. He's got to kind of soak that in, take a little bit of a back seat, staying strong on the things that he believes that organization should be doing, and don't back down on those. But you got to take some advice as well. You've been kind of stuck in the same place for a very long time. And I think the help of Jimmy Johnson, a guy like that, a driver like that, an owner like that, partial owner like that, and the money that the other ownership has can really propel, Petty, Legacy Motor Club into something different. There again, it's a shame not to see Petty on the side of one of those cars. It's a shame, that the ownership name isn't Richard Petty Motorsports or Richard Petty Motor Club or whatever it might be, had his number in it, something. It is sad to see, especially as a guy that, that's a car you grew up as a kid, you could point out in a heartbeat because of the color scheme, of the number, and the importance of just what it is historical. So I really hope we get this team all on the same page moving forward, which I have a feeling we will, as I mentioned earlier. But right now, on the not list, man. Legacy Motor Club on the not list. So that's going to do it for who's hot and who's not. Want to take a second and pause for station identification right here on Coach's Corner Sports Network. Big shout out and thank you to John and Adele Henderson for everything they do, y'all. Hope you're having a great Wednesday. Everybody, take a sip. Usually I got a water, I don't have one tonight. I'm taking an imaginary sip, man. So, but getting right back into it, man, we got that Daytona recap. Got the recap of the Daytona 500, and I tell you, it was a pretty good 500 to me. I thought it was very entertaining. I thought the racing was pretty good. There again, I've got some things to talk about as we, move a little bit later on in the show. Very aggressive 500. I will give you that little Easter egg there. Very aggressive. A lot of different things, a lot of cautions. We never saw a third line really form to where we went 3 wide, and I think part of that is the next-gen car. I know Dale Jr. commented on it, just the drivability of these and how crazy loose they get and how once they spin around you can't save them. But at the end of the day, all in all, a good 500. I mean, it was exciting all the way down to the finish. I think a lot of guys wish it would have worked out in their favor and worked out a different way, but it didn't. And again, Ricky Stenhouse is a Daytona 500 champion. His name is forever on that trophy. So nobody can take that away from him or that team. And I think that's something to be really proud of and pat yourself on the back about. So, RFK, man, Roush Fenway Keselowski had an amazingly strong day. I mean, Brad Keselowski won the first stage, I'm pretty sure. He got the first stage win of the year. Looked strong all day long. I tell you, the 6 and the 17 were there up till the very end as well, pushing and shoving. I think it's going to be something you see this year out of RFK. I don't expect a huge jump from last year. I mean, they got the win there with Chris Buescher, and it seemed like Keselowski had a really down year. I don't think we're going to see that quite this year. I think they take a step forward for sure. There again, we'll see if they can, win some races. Like I said, Chris Buescher there at Bristol. Keselowski is really good at restrictor plate. You still got a few more of those on the schedule, or super speedways, a few more of those on the schedule before we get to those. So, I expect Brad Keselowski to make a run and at least maybe making a shot at the playoffs in that equipment over there at RFK this year, if not getting both cars in. There again, if you've watched the show earlier in the season, in the off season, I don't think we're going to have 17 different winners this year, 18 different winners. It's just not going to happen. I think maybe 8 to 10 max. I think 8 to 10 drivers sounds about right. You might get upwards of 10 maybe, but I'll take below 10 different guys winning this year as far as point-paying races go. So, big kudos to them, though. They worked hard in the offseason. I know they're revamping that whole whole race team from the ground up. It's going to take a couple years, especially I don't think they have quite the funding that you see over at 2311 with Michael Jordan being involved and Denny Hamlin and how brandable they are as a team. I don't think you see that quite yet at RFK. I think that there again, Brad Keselowski is a smart enough mind to start heading it in that direction and getting some bigger sponsorship and more sponsorship dollars to help that program. But right now, like I said, man, looking for big things from them. Had a good run there at Daytona. We'll see if they carry that speed over to Auto Club this weekend. Again, man, all in all, a great race. I know some of it hate it. Some of us love it. Some of the drivers hate it. Some of the drivers love it. Some of them wait for these type races to get that good finish. But we also got to remember, man, the 500 is the biggest payday we see all year. I know Ricky Stenhouse probably took, home right around $2 million, maybe a little northward of $2 million purse on that. So those smaller teams, man, that, fought their way, having a really good finish, Travis Pastrana, for example, in that 2311 car, man. I mean, finished great, Some of those smaller teams, that's a really big payday for them. That's a huge payday, a great way to start the season when you start that race. So you always got to give yourselves kudos for that. And love it or hate it, we're in a box. That's what style racing it is. That's what we're going to see. So there again, if you're not a fan of that style racing, turn the channel. So, getting right into it, man, getting ready to do that California preview out there at Auto Club Speedway. This will be the last time we see the 2-mile track. It is off the schedule for 2024. We will not race out at Auto Club next year, which to me is sad. This has been a staple of the NASCAR schedule since '97 when it first started and came in. It's been a staple, man. And to be honest, it's had some amazing races, good finishes there. It's such a wide track, a lot of different grooves, a lot of passing. It's a momentum track. Got to keep that momentum up. As we've seen in years past, some guys get in trouble with that, some guys don't. But I tell you what, it is going to be an awesome race, I think, this year, especially being that last one until we go to that new short track, I'm guessing, that they're building, or shorter track they're building there. So we'll have to wait and see, but it's going to be a good one, man. So make sure you tune in Sunday right at, 3 o'clock, I'm pretty sure, on Fox. Kyle the Martian Larson, as I like to call him, man, came home victorious. Started in the rear of this one, too, I'm pretty sure. Started in the rear. The man, the myth, the legend right here. Started in the rear of that one, man, and drove his way up to the front, I'm pretty sure, which is interesting to see. So, came home victorious. I think the 5's got a really good shot at doing it again. There again, you have to stay tuned into the race on Sunday and see who comes home victorious, man. But I'm thinking, definitely going to have a really good shot. That upper groove there at California seems to come in. He's one of the best to do it. We'll see if he can go back-to-back there at Auto Club. I know it'll mean something to definitely win the last one on that format, that configuration of the track as well. So getting right into that top 5, man, and we'll run my top 5 down list real quick and give you a couple dark horse picks out there too, guys to watch out for a little deeper that you might sleep on. But number 1, I just mentioned him, Kyle Larson. There again, came home victorious last year. California has always been a really good racetrack for him. He's always run good and halfway decent there to me. And there again, the Hendrick Chevrolet, definitely going to see that thing come out and bring some power. So you have to make sure you keep an eye on that 5 car. There again, like I said, just an amazing talent, knows how to get around California really well. I'll take him number 1 on my list. Number 2, teammate, and you guys might catch this a little odd, but it's going to be William Byron, man. You run this clock back last year, William Byron had a rocket ship at California, man. Had tire issues as the first place last year. We really saw those tire issues come into play with maybe some of the camber or what they were doing with suspensions on the next gen that they didn't know about yet. So hopefully the compound's right this time we get there. Hopefully the setup's right and we don't see those tire issues. But William Byron's one that fell victim to it, and I tell you what, he had a rocket, man. So I take William Byron to have another really good run. I take him 2 on the list. 3 for me is going to be the first Ford on this list. It's got to be Joey Logano. I just mentioned him. Coming with that Ford power, we know Roger Penske has ties into this track as well. I expect Ford to run extremely well. It looks like there's some more players in Ford camps this year. Stuart Haas looks like they've got a little bit of momentum back over there and some horsepower back underneath those wheels. So there again, I think Joey Logano is a guy for the first 10 races, unless he just does absolutely awful, he's got a shot everywhere we go. He's 32 years old, getting into the prime of his career. He's been doing this 20 years, 19 years. He's in the prime now, so if you want to see him start reeling them off win-wise, I think now is when you're really going to start seeing all those years of experience start to pay off. So keep an eye on that 22 car this Sunday at Auto Club as well. 4 for me. Come on, man. Come on, man. You see the hat. You see the numbers. I'm going to take them almost every week, man. Chase Elliott, number 4 on the list. There again, Hendrick Chevrolet, going to have speed. California might not be one of his best racetracks, but there again, I look at it like the guy can win anywhere we go, and California could fall right into his hand, depending on what strategy him and Alan Gustafson come up with. We'll see what kind of cautions fall, how they fall. We're back into stage racing again, just like we were at Daytona, so that has a little bit to do with it as well. But at the end of the day, I think the 9 camp is going to have a really strong start to the season. I think there again, like I said, Hendrick in general is going to start strong. So this might be where you see one of those boys reel off one of those 3 out of the first 9 I was telling you about. And like I said, once they get hot, I think you're going to see a lot of guys reeling them off as we saw in years past. Not, one here and then 3 weeks later another one, 4 weeks later win. I think you're going to see guys start winning back-to-back for sure, like we did in seasons past. So keep an eye on that 9 car. Might be a chance for him to get it done, man. 5, I went 2 drivers. I'm really split, so it's really like 6. But I'm going to take Ryan Blaney and Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch, we both know, has a really good record there at California. I think he got his first win of 60 Cup wins or 60-plus Cup wins. I'm pretty sure it came at California. So he knows how to get around. I've watched him and Kyle Larson ride it out to the end there. I've watched him do it a million times. So Kyle Busch is going to be a guy to have on that list, man. Top 5. Any of those top 5 guys can go out and get a win. Kyle Busch has got to be one that you have on that list and stays on that list right now. Ryan Blaney, on the other hand, there again, Penske Ford, always shows good speed there at Auto Club. I think he's going to have a breakout season. I think we're going to see Ryan Blaney get over the hump of, one race win a year, if any. He didn't have one other than the All-Star race last year. So I think he's going to be a multi-time winner this season. Could happen, could start right here at Fontana, Auto Club Speedway. Could happen. So keep an eye on the 12 as well. Getting into some dark horses out there. I think you got to look at the 43 out there. Eric Jones, man, I'm telling you right now, had a really good car. I think he finished in the top 10 there, top 12, I'm pretty sure, last season of that race. So I think they're going to be bringing back that same horsepower, same type setup, staying out of trouble, pit stops. That's going to be key for that team. No mistakes clean race all day, and I think 43 will be up there for sure. The 3, Austin Dillon, again, another guy last year, I want to say, that raced up there towards the top 10. Staple here at Rubbing and Grubbing, one of our buddies.
Rubbing is racing and Grubbing is tasting.
You know, had a really good showing there at Daytona till he didn't. But there again, carrying that momentum into Auto Club. RCR Chevrolet, I'm telling you right now, it's got some horsepower. Again, pit stops, strategy. Don't mess it up on pit road for him, man, and you're going to be in good shape. So watch out for that 3. And last but not least, Tyler Reddick in that 45, man. I'm telling you right now, it seemed like he had a really good car here again last year with RCR. Tire issues there again. Kind of took him out of contention. I think if they get that under control, it might be that first win that Tyler Reddick brings home for 23-11 over there at the 45 for him being that new driver. I love Tyler Reddick. I think his talent's amazing. I love how he goes about racing. I love the charisma he has for the sport. I love the personality. He never really gets upset. Even when you saw Chase Briscoe kind of take him out for that win on the dirt Bristol last year and Busch coming home victorious. At the end of the day, man, wasn't upset, didn't call anybody out, didn't call anybody out of their name, just kind of was happy, smiled, thanked the sponsors, and went on about his business. So big kudos to him on that. But watch out for him as one of those dark horses this weekend. So getting into that money line, sponsored by Redfin Polarized, man. Like I say all the time, whether you got money on the line or a wall hanger, make sure you see it clearly with the best polarized sunglasses on the planet, man. Italian frames, Carl's Ice lenses, dude. These things are absolutely amazing. Like I say, they are made for the woods, made for the water, man. If you leave home, make sure you do not get caught without them. As I always like to say, live life's fins up with Redfin Polarized. Hey, check out their website, man. When you go to checkout, if you use code Rubbin and Grubbin at checkout, save you 15% off the most badass sunglasses on the planet, y'all. Big shout out to Redfin. They're awesome, man. So getting into that money line, look, we've been doing good. We started out the season hot with a win with Truex, you know, betting what we bet at that clash. We were up 350 units, 275 units on what we bet. Coming into the duels, we hit on the duels as well, so we went up. What were we up, Lawrence? 600-something units? Usually I got it on the sheet somewhere right here. I think we were up like 600-something units, man. We were doing pretty good. Kind of missed Daytona, man. We missed that one. Not by much, but we did miss that one there. So starting to work it out, starting to get back into it, getting it figured out. That's what I always say. Daytona is one. You can pick a lot of different guys. You know, we're going up. We're up in the ante. It's only up from there. I'm telling you, we're getting into the normal NASCAR schedule. The first 3 races are going to tell us really who to kind of look at for a while during the season. So there again, you know, if you're looking for some guys to bet, like I told you, we bet around 150 units every single week. You know, 25 units on a guy. So usually we take about 6 drivers. Sometimes we'll take some more. Sometimes we take a little bit less. But at the end of the day, we're going to take some cars. There again, some of those favorites this week. I know Kyle Larson's the favorite. We'll probably take him. That's about even money for us, right around even money, maybe giving up a little bit. But we'll probably take Kyle Larson. I'm looking a little bit deeper in the field. I know that I think they got Ryan Blaney, they got Kyle Busch, and Christopher Bell, which is another guy I think is going to have a big season. I think they're all right around 12-1, 10-1 odds out there. So that's a nice little decent payday depending on what you bet. Joey Logano, there again, coming in right around 10-1, 12-1. I'll take that all day long. I mean, that's a pretty good guy. There again, I think a couple guys, like I said earlier, you got to look at that are going to have major betterly odds that have contention to win. 43, 3, 23, 45. Those are 4 guys. We're definitely going to be taking one of them to win that one. And if you want the most honest bet I could possibly put out there, the odds were looking great for this guy, and I don't know why. I mean, I obviously get it after last season and kind of having a down year. But Kevin Harvick, man. Kevin Harvick comes in like plus 2,200, like 22-1 odds. And how you do that for a guy that is, one, a native of California, and 2, has won there. So, I mean, dude, I think those are great odds, so we'll definitely be sliding him in there somewhere. The exact list, you'll have to wait till next week to find out exactly who we took and what we won or what we didn't win. But at the end of the day, we're going to put some money on the line and see what we come up with. You can check that out. I forget, Lawrence throws it up, posts it on Twitter, Rubbing and Grubbing on Twitter, throws it out there on YouTube as well before the race. Let you know who we're taking, who we got in, locked in there. So you can always check that out if you follow us on that social media on Twitter. Lawrence always throws it up, so make sure you check it out. Facebook as well, man. Check it out. So before we get into the hard right turn, sponsored by Lamar Body Shop, I got to give a big shout out to my main man, Lamar over there at Lamar's Body Shop. Been servicing the Savannah area for 35 plus years. When it comes to auto collision repair, doesn't matter what it is, paint, body work, make sure you go see Lamar right up here, 2301 Skidaway Road, hop, skip, and a jump away from Coach's Corner, so you can double dip the day. You can stop by here and get lunch, take your car up, or take your car up, catch a ride back to Coach's, man, have some lunch, hang out till it's ready, estimate's done, whatever, go back and get it. But at the end of the day, like I said, 35-year service in this area, 2301 Skidaway Road, Lamar's Body Shop. As I always like to say, why settle for par? Go see Lamar, man. Thank you, brother, for everything you do as well, Lamar. Get up. Next time I see you up here eating breakfast, man, breakfast on me, brother. So getting into it, man, and basically what it is Daytona and all the criticism. I talked about this a little bit earlier, man. There were a lot of fans out there moaning, groaning, and complaining about the race there at Daytona. And to me, it's just one of those things. I'm cool with an opinion. I'm cool with an educated opinion going back and forth on why and why not. But when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, man, NASCAR is going to do what NASCAR wants to do. And I think as fans, when we show the criticism and the negativity side of what we think the sport is doing, it drags the sport down. So let's be positive. Let's talk about more positives unless it directly comes to NASCAR. Not the broadcasting, not Fox, not drivers, not what they need to do, more short tracks, this and that. We got time in the off season. We can talk and complain about all that, which I do. And like I said, I will voice my opinion on what I think they can do better, as we all should. But at the end of the day, to down Daytona 500, the Great American Race, to me is just crazy, especially over coverage, especially over rules that we've had in place for however many years now. So as long as the rules are set before the race, and we saw it last year when you talk about Ryan Blaney in the All-Star race, the rules kind of got bent there for a guy, right? Because the rules weren't exactly clear or clean cut there. So now they are. They fixed that. The rules for Daytona had been clean cut for a while. I mean, we all know it's racing. You know, if they take the white flag, caution comes out after overtime. Boom, that's it. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. took the white flag, caution came out. Could there be a line? Sure. I mean, if NASCAR wants to do it, cool, whatever. We'll adjust to that too. But those are the rules. That's how it is. That's in today's day and age in sport, not only for safety of drivers, safety of work crew, safety of everybody involved. And that's just the game plan that NASCAR is rolling with. So I said it there again. It's not 1970, 80, 90, 2000 anymore, 2010 anymore. It's 2020's NASCAR. And there again, that was a packed out, sellout race. That was an amazing sight to be seen. I think with the things they're doing, we're gaining back some viewership that is desperately needed for NASCAR. I think, again, with that being said, the more eyes we get on the sport, the more youth we get involved into it, the better. But we also have to keep our roots. That is something that we have to do. And I want to say Bill Elliott was commented on saying something about that as well. We've got to keep some of the roots of NASCAR. We can't just totally erase everything that we've worked through history to come up to and kind of erase it and start over. So to me, I'm not a fan of street racing in NASCAR. I'm going to watch the Chicago race just like I do every other race. I'm just not a fan of that in NASCAR. Could it be a great show, entertaining? Yeah, but that's just not NASCAR to me. Everybody's opinionated. Everybody has a voice. Like I said, I'm not going to negative and down it and say I'll never watch it again and this is BS and Fox is horrible and NASCAR's horrible. I'm not going to do that. It's just not my cup of tea. Racing on dirt at Bristol, not my cup of tea. So there are things out there, like I said, but when it comes to the Daytona 500, if they want to go and make right-hand turns on it and that's what NASCAR decides to do, I'm going to be happy about it. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to watch it just like I do every single 500. So there again, I like to say, if you do not enjoy watching the sport or what we have going on, just don't watch it. So, you know, a little bit more on that. I talked earlier, I said NASCAR has kind of put all these guys into a box, right? And it was like that in the 90s there too. I mean, maybe a little bit more horsepower, maybe being able to pull out and, you know, slingshot around some guys or this and that. But it's just become more and more and more and more and more aggressive. And that's what it's going to be. It's going to become more and more and more aggressive. There's guys that don't want to wait till the end to go to the front. There's guys that want to push hard. There's guys that want to go fast. There's guys that try to prevent that from happening to maintain and control the line and control the runs and so many different things. And at the end of the day, you have to be aggressive to win these style races. There is no more hanging out, waiting, trying to be patient. I mean, that's all part of it. If that's your strategy, cool. But when you get caught up in the big one, for guys being aggressive and you're not, can't complain about it, man. So that's another thing that we can't complain about is how aggressive it's become or how boxed in it's become, where two lines of cars ride around for 3.5, 4 hours, 5 hours, however long, pushing on each other, you know, getting the bump draft going and moving lines, and it just goes like this. Can't complain about it. That's the style racing it is. Atlanta. I was a huge fan of Atlanta the way it was. I loved Atlanta. It gets strung out. People complained about that. 5 seconds between first and second. But it was tire management. It was fuel management. It was different things. Now, the new Atlanta, it's basically a small Talladega and Daytona. It's a 1.5 mile super speedway that we watch guys ride in lines for 3 hours, 4 hours, however long the race takes. I'm still a fan of it. I still love it. It's still entertaining to me. There again, my opinion, I think NASCAR should do a super speedway race, whether it be spring or summer, and then wash all that off and put the normal 1.5 mile package out there and see what can happen, man. See what they can do. See if these cars are raceable with a normal package. I think that would give Atlanta its own entity inside the sport, outside of having a 1.5 mile super speedway style race. So, but at the end of the day, we just got to take a step back, enjoy the sport that we're seeing, enjoy the style racing and how many talented young drivers we have in the sport right now that are going to be here for years to come. Enjoy just the show that is being put on by NASCAR and the racing. We just have to enjoy it. Let's not complain about it. Let's just enjoy it for a few weeks, y'all. So that's going to do it for the rubbing part. We are on to the grubbing. And honestly, I don't even know what we're grubbing on tonight. I didn't even get a sneak peek on it. I was running a little bit late, but I'm getting ready to let you guys know what it is right now.
California tacos.
Oh, yeah. Usually the mainstay that we roll with, man. Got those California tacos. Got the look. That's right. Got the chips and salsa, baby. Got the platter made up, man. I tell you what, if you've never had the tacos here at Coach's, they're awesome. Crunchy taco, soft shell. They'll do whatever you want, honestly, man. If they've got it, they'll probably put it in the shell for you, man. As I say all the time, some of the best food I have around town. If you have not been to Coach's, 1 for the food, 2 for the drinks, 3 for the entertainment. If you have not been here, like I say, you're living under a rock. If you're incarcerated, I get it, but when you get out, come to Coach's, have some food, have some tacos, man. Get that drink, man. So as soon as this gets done, I'm getting ready to tear this taco up, by the way. I'm hungry. But moving along from that, man, got to give a big shout out there again to John and Adele Henderson and all the staff here at Coach's Corner. Big thank you from the Rubbing and Grubbing crew, especially for me, for allowing me to be able to do this. Not too far away. I want to keep pushing it, man. We're getting with about, a month and a half away. We're going to see the 19th hole, and that thing is a wild show. If you have not seen it, Sean and Brent Hurd put on such an awesome freaking show for the golf. If you have not come up and watched that, at least pop up and watch it. Sign into Coach's Corner and watch that. Them boys get wild. They get lit, they get live, they get wild. Make sure you tune into that for sure, man. That's always a good show. Got to give a big shout out to Carl DeMasi with the Prep Sports Report, keeping you up to date on everything Prep Sport here in town. As always, man, doesn't matter if it's girls volleyball, basketball, boys basketball, football, lacrosse, shooting, archery, whatever, air rifle, whatever they're doing, man, Coach Carl got you covered, man. That's live right here at Coach's Corner every Saturday, 9 until, usually right around 10:30. Coach will run it a little long sometimes, but 9 until. Also, got spring training coming up. You know the Braves are going to be a hot topic. I'm sure Coach Carl is going to be doing that, who's on first base. Make sure you tune into that, keeping you up to date with everything MLB news, who's hot, who's not, trades, deadlines, players that look out for this year, teams to look out for this year. I'll probably pop on that show, maybe try to make a guest appearance, give a little bit of my baseball knowledge out there, where I think we're doing and what's doing what this year. But anyways, got to give a big shout out to Carl DeMasi. Huge shout out to there. And I also saw his boy just took another job, offensive coordinating up in college again. What's that?
Russ.
Yeah, Russ, man. Russ DeMasi taking that job. So congratulations to you on that, brother. I hope all is well. Hope you go out there and slay it and take that next step up, man. That's what we're talking about. But like I said, man, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Another episode of Rubbing and Grubbing. I can't say it enough. None of this is possible without you guys tuning in. Awesome time, as always. Hope everybody's having a safe Wednesday night out there. As I tell you all the time, hug your loved ones. Give them a kiss on the cheek, man. Tomorrow is not granted. This world is a damn crazy place, man. So make sure you spend as much time with your fam and friends as you can. Hey, till next week, stay safe. As always, bam. Wash your hands, y'all. Peace. All right.